Hello everybody, welcome to the Re-Review, the series where I get to replay and reassess games from my favourite gaming era. I'm Brian, also known as UK Gen Zoidberg, and apparently video games are bad for you. At least that's what I was told by the media when I was growing up in the 1980s. And during that time, the most controversial things that tended to happen in gaming involved scantily clad page 3 models on adverts or debates about a few red pixels in fighting games. Of course, that all changed with, amongst other things, the release of the game that I'm here to talk about today. If you go all the way back to episode 11 of the Re-Review, you'll see me talk about WizKid and the history of Sensible Software. Today, however, I'm going to talk about what is arguably their most infamous game, Cannon Fodder, which was released by Virgin Interactive in November 1993. Hey, has anybody told you about the V.I.P memberships that we do right here on the channel? Not only will you get early access to most of the videos that we post, you'll also get exclusive access to full reruns of any live streams that we do, plus exclusive membership content. You'll even get one of these little badges that you can put on your name whenever you comment on anything, just to show people how long you've been a member for. If that sounds like something that might be of interest to you, it's only £1.99 a month, and you can find full details of how you can become a member in the video description, or just click the link on screen right now. You'll even get to help us choose what games we cover in future episodes of both the Re-Review and Retro Game Super Leagues, so why not check it out? For now though, let's get back to the video. If you're familiar with the work of Sensible Software, and as an Amiga gamer, why wouldn't you be? You'll know how their games often used simple gameplay and humour to hide their depth and complexity. It's true of everything from Parallax to Megalomania, and I'm still discovering ways to score goals in Sensible Soccer 30 years since I first played it. Nowhere, however, is this more noticeable than in Cannon Fodder. Sensible had complete freedom to make the game their way, thanks to the fact that Mirrorsoft, the initial publisher, went bankrupt early on in the game's development. By the time a new publisher was found, in the guise of Virgin Interactive, the game was almost finished. The signature Sensible style is all over the game, from the theme song written by John Hare and the late Richard Joseph, to the atmospheric graphics by Stu Cambridge. Although it has a similar look to other games by the team, Cambridge, in an interview with Retro Gamer, maintains that there was nothing in the game that wasn't drawn from scratch, with no assets carried over from other projects. At first glance, it looks like a basic shooter with a jaunty attitude to combat, but it's actually a commentary on the futility of war with challenging strategic gameplay. In previews of the game ahead of its release, John Hare stated that Cannon Fodder is the game that we've always wanted to make. It makes you realise just how senseless war is. Unfortunately, just before the game's release, on November the 11th, 1993, it found itself at the centre of a controversy over the use of a poppy on the box art. This image was chosen to emphasise the anti-war message of the game. As Hare himself put it, "We're not concentrating on any particular war because it's meant to be an anti-war thing." Despite this, the Daily Star newspaper were quick to pounce, following an advert for issue 32 of Amiga Power, which also featured the flower prominently on the cover, under the headline Total War. The story in the Daily Star said that the game was an insult to our war dead, and featured quotes from both MPs and the Royal British Legion, calling the game both monstrous and offensive. After legal threats from the Royal British Legion, both the game and magazine had to swiftly change their covers. Amiga Power now featured a screenshot of the game, whereas the cover of the game itself was changed to this monstrosity. The game itself, however, still featured the poppy image as its title screen, although it now also carried a disclaimer, "Not endorsed by the Royal British Legion." Amiga Computing magazine called the publicity the best free advertising that the game could have asked for. Upon release, it topped the charts for many weeks and sold over 100,000 copies. At least that was according to the Amiga Format review of the game's sequel. That sequel came out just 1 year later, and was more of the same, but featured more fantastical level locations. Whereas the first game had featured jungles, icy tundras and deserts, in the sequel players would visit 1930s Chicago, space stations and alien worlds. This led to a lot of criticism in reviews from people claiming that it should have been a data disc rather than a full-blown sequel. Sensible had nothing whatsoever to do with the third game in the series that came out in 2011. Codemasters bought out Sensible in 1999 along with all their assets, and they licensed the IP to the Russian publisher Game Factory. Anyone who played the game probably wishes that they hadn't though. If you want to play the game today, then you can pick up PC versions of both the original game and the sequel for less than £5 each on GOG, whereas the Mega Drive version is also available on the Codemasters cartridge for Evercade. Now let's see what reviewers said about the game on its original release. There's only really one place to begin when talking about the reviews of Cannon Fodder, and that's that infamous review in Amiga Power, which was actually the first review to hit the newsstands. Across 4 pages, reviewer Camwyn Stanley would explain why playing the game was now more important to him than eating, sleeping, and all basic bodily functions. Earning a score of 94% meant that it was the highest score ever given out by the magazine at the time, not counting the budget re-release of Rainbow Islands, and only one other game would ever score higher. The same score was also given by Amiga Action in their January issue, where the reviewer stated that the game had forced them to rethink their stance on scoring games so highly. Amiga Computing also gave the same score in their review too. 94% wasn't the highest score that the game received though. In their Christmas 1993 issue, Amiga Format gave it an unprecedented 95%, stating that it was the most playable and addictive game to come out in a long time. Both CU Amiga and the One Amiga gave it 93% in their reviews, but it wasn't just the Amiga-centric press that was gushing over the game. Even the multi-format magazines were getting in on the praise, with Games Master awarding it 92% and Edge magazine giving it 9 out of 10. From 8 reviews, the average score was 93.1%, which makes it possibly the most lauded game in the history of UK Amiga magazines. On the Lemon Amiga website, it currently sits at 8.81 out of 10 from 536 user reviews. Now it's time to load the game up and play the game for myself. It's time for the playtest. So there we go, that's the disclaimer that was added just before release, and the unchanged title screen. This was actually the first game by Sensible Software to have a intro song. Obviously they followed it up with Sensible World of Soccer as well. And despite the fact that the song is quite a jolly little number, I don't think the lyrics are pro-war in any way. So anyway, there's no faffing around, it just goes straight in. So all your eager young recruits run along the road to join the army, and I end up with a squad with two people in it for the first level. And it's incredibly simple to pick up and play. You mouse control to move your pointer, left button will walk to where you clicked, holding down the right button will fire your weapon. Very simple. I think it definitely exists alongside Lemmings in terms of how well the game introduces you to its controls and how it works. These early levels are incredibly simple in their setup. Didn't see that guy there. The fact that the enemies are quite well camouflaged against the background is a design decision, because it's one that works quite well from a gameplay point of view. So each of the game's missions is broken up into phases. So this mission 2 has 2 phases in it. There will be some later on that have a lot more phases than that. There's some that only have 1. And in keeping with the realistic approach to war, it only takes a single bullet to take out one of your soldiers. Oh no! That killed one of my enemies. That killed one of my soldiers. So if one of your soldiers does die in combat, you get this screen telling you that the soldiers who were lost in battle. And because each of the soldiers in the game is individually named, you really do feel that loss in some instances. And as you can see, a gravestone has appeared on the hill as well. So R.I.P. Jules, who managed to kill 31 enemies. So he is now top of the heroes list. Enemies are a little easier to see in the snow.
in their bright blue uniforms. Obviously, you have to be really careful with grenades because one stray bullet can make them blow up as well. It usually only takes a single grenade to blow up one of these buildings. And you throw grenades by holding down your machine gun fire button and clicking the left mouse button. As soldiers on your team complete missions, they do get promotions in their rank as well. And according to all previews of the game, the ranking up system is supposed to make your soldiers better in combat with more accuracy and such. Can't say I ever really noticed. I do like the ambient noises that they've included. There are occasional pathfinding issues for your squad, and they can get stuck on bits of scenery if you're not careful. I don't think it's anything that's particularly game breaking though. If you're unsure of where you're supposed to be going, there is a map that you can click on in the bottom left hand corner. That shows you the entirety of the current level. Yes, as you can see, there are occasionally some levels where it just throws you straight in with enemies right next to you. And you just panic. As I discovered when I was playing this the other day, that little grey dot on the ground there is a mine. So I need to shoot that, otherwise that will take out half of my squad. And all of this dirt around here is actually quicksand. So if I was to wander into it, then my soldiers will not be able to get out. Stu is now top of the list on the heroes. I would imagine all of those people who didn't really understand that this was an anti-war game probably didn't appreciate the home and away scores at the top of the screen here either. You know, this is about as complicated as the controls in the game get now, where, as you can see, I now have grenades or rockets. If I actually have to click on the rockets to be able to use them. So these enemy soldiers have been building snowmen. Right, I think what I'm going to do here as well is I'm going to split up the squad. So RJ is now going to be on his own. And the reason for this will become apparent in a second. Because there are soldiers with rocket launchers. I wanted to be sure that at least half of my squad would have been safe. Oh no, that took out my entire squad. As you can see on that screen there, I have 66 recruits all lined up outside the recruitment office. Let's have a quick check on that map, shall we? It's quite a big map, so I need to destroy that building down in the bottom left and the ones in the bottom right. So I think I'll head to the ones on the right first. Right, so it's just one building in the bottom left now. Although I'm pretty sure that the mission briefing said that I needed to kill all enemies as well. Oh no! Did that guy blow himself up then? I think he did. Oh! Oh! Going down to that bottom right-hand corner is definitely the way to go, because then you'll get to have your rockets. Guess I've only got 7 rockets left now. Oh my god, where did they come from? Oh no, I've only got 1 soldier left. He's going to have to try and Rambo up the mission. No! No! Where did that rocket come from? Oh. I don't think I can get close enough. I couldn't get close enough to him. Oh no, no, no! That was a really bad decision. No! Oh no, I fell off the cliff. No! Yay! Finally! And got one final phase, my beautiful skidoo. I think this is where the game starts to introduce vehicles. The vehicles are not especially simple to drive. No, somebody's died. Mission complete. Hooray, finally. As we watch the list of all the people who died in service for me to complete that level, that's probably going to be a good place to end this playtest. So let's move on to the final summary.
If there's another Amiga game that's as easy for anyone to pick up and play as Cannon Fodder, I honestly can't think of it right now. Make no mistake, this is a bona fide Amiga classic, and it's as good to play today as it was on original release. Mouse control is absolutely perfect. Guiding your squad around the stages is incredibly simple, and the game teaches you everything that you could possibly need to know in the first few levels, without ever feeling like a tutorial. If your only experience of playing this game is on a console with a joypad, you really are missing out. On top of that, there's the superb presentation too. Every one of the levels looks fantastic with a huge amount of detail, and they're enhanced by the atmospheric sound effects that bring each environment to life. The pieces of music that play at the opening and climax of every mission really do get you in the mood as well. It's easy to see why certain people got upset with the touches of humour throughout, but the overall tone is actually quite sombre and respectful. I don't think I've ever felt the loss of a player character more than you do in this game. You really do feel an attachment to your soldiers, especially when they've survived multiple missions. Cannon Fodder gets the balance between action and strategy absolutely perfect, and it should appeal to fans of both. That's why it tops the Action Strategy Super League with ease. It's a category with hardly any outright stinkers, and yet Sensible's game is the clear winner. I don't give out 10 out of 10 scores very often, but to give this game any less just wouldn't feel right. The only minus is that you will eventually finish it, but even then, you could just start playing it all over again. Needless to say, everyone should play this game. Thank you for watching this re-review of Cannon Fodder. This was actually one of the hardest episodes that I've had to write so far in this series, so I hope it was worth it and that you enjoyed it. Please tell me your memories of playing the game in the comments. All opinions expressed in this video are mine alone and nothing to do with the rest of the UK Gaming Network team. There's a new episode in this series every 2 weeks, and if you would like to request a game for me to cover it in the future, please send your suggestions to me by email to reviews@ukgamingnetwork.com. In the next episode, I'll be talking about Revolution Software and their adventure game, Lure of the Temptress. If you've missed any of the previous episodes in this series, you can click on the playlist that should be on screen now. Please remember to give us a like and subscribe to show your appreciation for the channel, and why not check out our VIP memberships while you're at it, so that you get to watch all these episodes earlier than anyone else. Until next time, happy retro gaming, bye for now.